Hello, welcome to Errol's Blogs. Today we begin the very first program I'm going to look at, which is my second favourite program, Sliders. Now, Sliders began in the mid-90s, 1995 to 2000, and was broadcast in America. Now, Sliders featured four main characters. The first of those was Quinn Mallory, as played by Jerry O'Connell, who was also famous for films such as Stand By Me, Buying the Cow, and Piranha 3D movie, and many others. Certainly a lot better things than some of the ones I've just quoted. Then you've also got the fantastic John Rhys-Davies, who was the life really of Sliders, who played Professor Arturo Maximilian, and he was famous for playing Sala in Indiana Jones. He was also famous for many other roles in his career. Sliders was a big success for him, and it was a shame when he left the series. Sabrina Lloyd played Wade Wells, and Cleveland Derricks, who's got a wonderful musical knack actually, he's released his own album, played Crying Man Rembrandt Brown. Crying Man, if you don't know, is his nickname because of his singing. So anyway, what is Sliders all about? Well, it's a science fiction series based on the attempts of Quinn Mallory to create what he thought was an anti-gravity device, but in actual fact was what he called the timer, which would take him and I suppose other people around him, depending how much power was in it, to a parallel world, which he didn't realise at first. He was testing his experiments of sending things through this sort of portal, as he called it, and certain things weren't coming back, or some things were coming out fried. It was a bit of a risk, but he decided to go through it, and he saw something very strange. He saw well, that was very eerie, quite similar, but different in many ways, including the fact that the traffic lights, red means go, green means stop. Elvis Presley was still alive, and his mum married Jake the gardener. Yeah, maybe not a good thing. But it was fascinating to see the ideas of the Sliders series, because it concentrated on particular things in history, or particular events, which could have taken a different course. Like, what if Russia had won the Cold War? What sort of place would America have been? And, you know, it just showed, what should I say, the Soviet Union, it showed such brutality. People being shot on the streets, you know, spies, Secret Service. It just, you know, looked terrifying, really. A world which, you know, just seemed so scary when they went to it. How does the other characters get caught up in this? Well, when Quinn returns from his little venture, some things have happened in his world. He's turned up late for work. He kissed Wade. And also, he questioned his own professor, who was furious, Professor Arturo Maximilian. How dare you, you know, attack my theories? And Quinn was wondering, what have I done? Have I done anything wrong? And then when he goes down to his basement, he finds someone who looks exactly like him. It's his double from another world. And he has given him the answer to solve the equation, the final piece. So Quinn can now travel to a parallel world, parallel universes. However, before he discovers important information, his double slides through, and when he does slide through, because the timer is the preset time, he doesn't quite realise that if they leave before the timer reaches 0, then they would slide randomly, which means they wouldn't go back to the world they originally came from. So anyway, first of all, the professor and Wade come over to Quinn's house, and they're thinking, you know, why has Quinn been like this today? You know, they think of him as a good man, and you know, they go and speak to him, and then Quinn explains what's happened, and the professor is just astounded. You know, saying, this idiot, look at him, he's solved the equation, you know, to sliding through, you know, parallel dimensions. I mean, this is just unprecedented. and it's just fascinating to see, the reaction of the professor and also of Wade, who's kind of like, boom, we're on another planet. She's so excited, a young lady who's desperate to get away and see, what life's like on the other side. So anyway, they do eventually slide through, and it's not perhaps what they expect. Now, Rembrandt gets caught up in this because there's too much power in the timer that Quinn has set. So, unfortunately, when Rembrandt Brown tries to travel through the wormhole, he's sucked in. Well, he didn't want to travel through the wormhole, but when he's driving to the game, he is sucked in through the wormhole. And unfortunately, he has to join the adventure. So after this, they land in a world which just seems a completely desolated place. Snowstorms, houses that have nobody in them. And to their disbelief, that a tornado is coming towards them. They're about to be sucked up, and of course, Rembrandt is right, they need to get out of there and then, but the concern is they might not be able to get back home, so Quinn takes them through the wormhole, and they think, oh, yeah, we're back home now, and they all separate. But once they've separated, Quinn sees a statue of Lennon, and it's like, oh my goodness. Or it might be the professor, actually. It's like, we are not where we should be. And of course Wade's gone, meant to have gone home to her family, and Rembrandt, and it's just, they're caught up with the Russians, and it just makes for an incredible adventure. Unfortunately, at the end of the story, although they escape from the place, the timer doesn't take them back to their original destination. And although things in parallel worlds can seem very much the same, unfortunately there are subtle differences. And at the end of the episode is one of my favourite endings, where Quinn and his sliding companions are all having a nice meal with Quinn's mother. And then suddenly the door opens and shuts, and Quinn's dad walks through, and you're thinking, oh, well, that's not really anything special. But Quinn's dad died in his world. And of course, just imagine seeing someone that is dead in your world, alive, very much alive in front of you in another world. That must be quite a bit of an impact. And of course, Quinn drops his glass of wine on the floor, and the rest of them shake their heads in disbelief. And that begins a fantastic adventure of Sliders. Now, the original series was very good because it looked at, the first two seasons in particular, looked at sort of different events and how, if they were different in a parallel world, how they would affect things. There were some great episodes, including penicillin, and the fact it hadn't been discovered on one world, and the fever had taken over. There was also one where lottery, winning the national lottery, was a form of population control. You'd live, the high life and then be killed off by a sort of lethal injection, I suppose. For the sake of other people. So it certainly had some fantastic ideas and did very, very well. And unfortunately in Season 3 the producers decided to bring in sex appeal and wanted to go along a different line by bringing in the Cro-Mags, a sort of advanced ape-like race which took a different course from humans. They were highly evolved and very dangerous, and their motives were hostile. And unfortunately the professor gets killed off in an episode called The Exodus, a two-part story by Colonel Rickman, as played by Roger Daltrey from The Who. Unfortunately, his acting skills weren't the best in the world, but we then have Kari Wara, who joins the cast, who has caused a lot of mixed reactions between Sliders fans for the sex appeal that was portrayed. But I would certainly recommend Sliders. It is a fantastic television series. If you want to see parallel universes, theories that Michio Kaku has discussed, Stephen Hawking, and various other people such as Richard Gott, then I would say this is the series to watch, because this sort of looks at those theories, puts them into practice, and has some fascinating storylines. So I would watch it. And that is the end of my first book. See you later.